But Paul knows in every gathering, just like there would have been in Ephesus, and just like there probably is here, there are always those that struggle with the, why can't I live the way I want to? Why can't I do what I want to do? Why does God always gotta just put me under his thumb and just keep me down? The man's always keeping me down. Why? Paul says, let me tell you something. You want to walk like the secular culture? You want to play Christian? You want to try and ride that line between Christian and secular culture? Okay, here's why that's never going to happen. In verse 17, he says, the world, when they walk, they do so in the futility of the mind. Now that word means fruitless, emptiness, vanity, folly. Walking like a Gentile, Paul says, is walking with an empty mind. In other words, there is a relationship, hear this is good. There is a relationship wherein the more and more you continue in your life in patterns of sin and culture, the more dull and calloused and numb your mind becomes to the foolishness of the things that you're doing. You believe that? There's a relationship there. That same word, futility of the mind, Paul uses in Romans 1. He says, for although they knew God, they did not honor him as God, talking about the same kind of thing, the secular culture. They did not honor him as God or give thanks to him, but they became, there it is, futile in their thinking. And now he's explaining what that looks like. Their foolish hearts were darkened. Claiming to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images resembling mortal man and birds and animals and creeping things, and he goes on and on. This is actually the answer to a lot of the questions that we have about our culture. We look around us and we wonder, how could somebody believe that? How could anybody believe that? That's crazy. But the scripture says that if you walk down a path of sin in your life and you do not quickly repent from it, you open up yourself to a mind-darkening effect that is possible. Now, God's merciful and gracious, and he might not do it, but he might. That's the thing. When you fear God, you say, I don't want to play with him. That's what the fear of God is I don't know if he'll let me keep going. I don't know if he'll strike me dead when I do it. But the fear of God says he might. And we better take that serious. There is a numbing effect wherein you can get morally dumber and more depraved the further down the path of sin you go in life. And Romans says that all along, as you're doing it, you will profess to be wiser as you're doing it. You will say, look at how smart I am. Look at how enlightened I am. And you idiot Christians don't know anything. Y'all are fools. You're bigots. You're backward. I'm the enlightened one, and I know what is right in this culture. This is how a culture says that a woman can just become a man by declaring it to be so. That is absolute foolishness. See, it got quiet in here when I said that, because we're not even used to being able to say that. It's no more real than the boogeyman or the tooth fairy, guys. It's not. And that's nothing to a darkened mind. Okay? A darkened, numbed, calloused mind. That's just starting. That's just the beginning of what one can conjure up. That's how a culture that says a baby on an ultrasound is just a fetus. It's a clump of cells. It's not a person. Traveling 6, 8 inches, 10 inches, whatever, down the birth canal makes you a human. Please. That's foolishness. Foolishness. That's a dark mind that doesn't see the truth. Okay? That's how a culture, oh, it's going to get hot. That's how a culture takes the rainbow symbol that God gave us to remind us that we survived the single worst act of judgment against sin in human history, the global flood, and his mercy to us that I won't do it again. And we take that and slap it on a flag and wave it up and call it pride. That is foolishness to do to the heavenly God above. That is foolishness. That's a smear of his mercy and covenant love towards us. Certainly, I could give you more examples. You probably wish I would. But the command is clear. Those are just the big ones right now in our culture. It's Pride Month. we ought to celebrate, right? Do not walk as the Gentiles do. Do not walk as the Gentiles do. Whatever the culture is celebrating, there is a great chance you ought to just do the opposite. There's a great chance that that's exactly the opposite of what we ought to be doing right now. For the good of your mind and your spirit, do not walk down that path. Do not engage your mind with that. Verse 18 says, they are darkened in understanding, alienated from the life of God because of the ignorance in them due to the hardness of heart. They have become calloused and given themselves up to sensuality, greedy to practice every kind of impurity. This is a picture of someone who has lost the ability to determine and discern truth from error. When you say, I don't even know what's right anymore, that's where you're at. There's a callus 3 inches thick on your mind, and you can't discern good from evil anymore. And so you probably read these verses and say, man, I don't want to do that. Who wants to do that? Nobody sets out in life and says, that's where I want to go. I don't want a mind subject to futility with no limiting factor of what is and is not sin. But if you think about the definition of the world, we use that term. The Bible uses that term, the flesh, the culture. By definition, that's the majority position. Whatever is the world is the majority. Whatever is the culture is the majority, right? So you guys know you're not the majority anymore. You understand? In this culture? You feel that? Okay, I just wanted you to know. It is more common to live like what we described than it is to live like a Christian. And one would even argue that it is rare to live like a Christian amongst Christians, if you wanted to get real uncomfortable in here. Now, I believe the answer to that is because the church has fallen for fool's gold. We've fallen for fool's gold. Maybe as a child you were out walking around, camping, hiking, walking through the woods, and because this happened to me, all right? I'm out myself here. This happened to me. You come upon this shiny golden metal in the ground. Maybe it's on a trail and it's been worn down and you can see it. The light catches it. Boom, you can see a bright light. You go down, you kick at it, you dust it with your hand, and you realize it's everywhere. It's in the rocks all around me. You see a wall on the side, and there it is. It's shiny. You go and you look at it, and you realize, my goodness, there's gold in them thar hills. And it's not black gold, Texas tea. No, it's that King Midas 24-karat magic. You need the nearest pickaxe and panning operation because it's prospecting time, baby. You've just struck it rich. But then some adult with some discernment in life comes up, puts their hand kind of condescendingly on top of your head. Hey, bud, that's not gold. And you say, sure it is. It's yellow, it's a metal, it's in the ground. It looks just like all the gold I've ever seen in the pictures. But in reality, you've learned a lesson that every kid that's gone for a hike has had to learn. There's a mineral substance out there called pyrite. It has a metallic luster, a pale brass yellow hue. It looks exactly like gold, and it just so happens to be the most abundant mineral sulfide in the entire world. It is not gold. It's everywhere, and it's been so commonly confused with gold that it's been given the nickname fool's gold. The phrase fool's gold became so popular during the mining era that it actually took on a pop culture definition, and we use it today. If you look up that idiom, fool's gold, you will find it says something like this: something that is attractive in appearance and initially promising, but ultimately worthless. That's what fool's gold is. Now, this is for everyone. I want our youth in college, focus here with me. The world is going to present you with a picture of life and what that life will be. The culture is going to offer you a path on which to walk and live. The unbelieving influencers and celebrities and media personalities and professors and politicians are going to place before you a worldview to adopt and a system to think about the issues of our day and the ways to live your life. They will present themselves as cool, enlightened, relevant, and they will present Christians as backward, bigoted fools. Okay? That's what I'm telling you today. You are going to be presented with a fool's gold life. Do this and you will live. Do this and you will be happy. Follow this and all your pleasures and dreams will come true. The way of the world is fool's gold. It's how we look up to dopes in Hollywood and think that they're somehow who we want to be. If you have any role models left in Hollywood, it's on you at this point, okay? There is no reason that you can't find a role model here in this building that's 50 times better than the trash that we see on TV, okay? Why are we getting marriage advice from people that have been divorced 5 times that live out in Hollywood? Why are we listening to them anymore? They don't know anything. They don't have the Spirit of God. And we have people here that have been married 50 years. We ought to go ask them. Hollywood don't know anything, okay? Yeah, we just had to put that out there. The same thing is true. Now, as you guys know, Hollywood's losing their influence. It's all on social media now. Your kids don't care about celebrities. They care about social influencers. And the same is true with them. Their life is completely fake. They're paid money to live a certain way. They're given sponsored dollars to take vacations all the time. And they spout off these platitudes about what the meaning of life is. And I've done a sermon on this. It's just the law of attraction. So be careful about what you pump into your mind. Sin, as you get deeper and deeper into it, will get a foothold in your life, and it will drive you into futility of the mind, which means you may have grown up smart. You may have been the bright child that everyone thought had so much promise, but you start getting into sin, teens, in your teen years and late teens, and all of a sudden you just start doing dumb stuff, and nobody can understand why. It's not because you got academically dumber. It's because you let sin get a foothold in your life. And that's exactly what happened. We are often told the key to happiness is to remove limits placed upon us, to do what makes us happy, to pursue a life without limits. Paul says that is the last thing you need to do, and it's a terrible idea. We've seen the folly of limitless living.